The old man arrived just after opening hours, when the museum was still quiet and the floors shone from fresh polish. His coat was too thin for the season, a faded olive color that might once have been part of a uniform, or maybe it only seemed that way because of how he carried himself. He moved slowly, leaning on a wooden cane smoothed by decades of use, and paused at the entrance as if gathering his courage. Most visitors hurried past the front desk, but he stopped and nodded politely to the young attendant. "Morning," he said, his voice steady but soft. She smiled back, barely looking up from her work. "Good morning, sir." "Take your time." And he did. The old soldier walked through the halls like someone visiting familiar ground. He lingered by black and white photographs, studying faces frozen in youth and fear. Sometimes he'd lift a trembling hand, almost touching the glass before letting it fall again. Other times he would simply close his eyes, as if he could still hear the sounds no one else could: boots on gravel, shouted orders, the distant thunder of artillery. In the main gallery stood a large bronze plaque listing hundreds of names. The old man stood before it for a long time, his lips moving silently. When a tear slid down his cheek, he brushed it away quickly, embarrassed, like a boy caught crying. A group of students passed by without a second glance. To them, he was just another elderly visitor, another relic among many. No one knew he had come for one reason only. And no one knew this would be his last visit. Nearly 70 years earlier, that same man, Private Thomas Halley, stood in a very different place. He was 19, his hands shaking around a rifle that felt far too heavy. The battlefield was pure chaos: smoke, screams, and mud, all woven together into something unforgettable. His unit was ordered to hold a narrow bridge, a thin strip of steel over a shallow river. It wasn't important on any map, but if the enemy crossed, an entire division would be trapped. When the first explosion hit, Halley thought he was going to die. When the second one hit, he thought he already had. Men fell all around him, friends whose jokes he knew by heart, whose letters from home he'd helped read by flashlight. The commanding officer went down, then the radio operator. The shouting stopped, replaced by confusion and panic. That was when Halley saw the enemy advancing. Something inside him hardened. It wasn't bravery, not exactly, it was refusal. He refused to let those men die for nothing. He refused to let the bridge fall. He refused to run. He grabbed the radio, barely knowing how to use it, and called in coordinates from memory. His voice didn't shake. He held that line long enough for reinforcements to arrive, long enough for the enemy to retreat, long enough for dozens of wounded soldiers to be pulled to safety. By the time it was over, Halley was injured, exhausted, but alive. Others were not. And when the medals were awarded, his name was never called. Back in the present, the old man lowered himself onto a bench near the final exhibit. It displayed a single medal in a glass case, dull with age and unassuming. The plaque beneath it read, "Awarded posthumously to an unknown soldier whose actions saved his unit during the river bridge engagement. Unknown." The old soldier smiled sadly. He reached into his coat pocket and felt the folded paper he had carried for decades, moving it from jacket to jacket, house to house. It was a handwritten report, a mistake corrected too late. A truth buried under bureaucracy and time. He had never come forward. At first it was guilt. He didn't feel like a hero. He felt like a survivor. Later it was just life, work, family, children, years that slipped away too fast. Eventually it became a heavy, permanent silence. But today something had pulled him here. A sense that time was running out. A feeling that some things, even after a lifetime, still deserved to be set right. The attendant noticed him struggling to stand and hurried over. "Sir, are you okay?" she asked. He just nodded and handed her the folded paper. "This belongs here," he said. She opened it, confused at first, then stunned as she read. Her eyes widened. "Sir, do you know what this is?" He replied gently, "Yes, I wrote it." She looked up, searching his face. "You're saying you're—" He raised a hand, stopping her. "I'm saying the soldier wasn't unknown." He took one last look at the medal. "He did what anyone should have done," he added. "It just took a long time for the truth to catch up." The old soldier never returned to the museum. Weeks later, the exhibit changed. A new plaque was added, a name carefully etched into the metal. Beside it, a photograph of a young, serious man, barely older than a boy. At the small dedication ceremony, the attendant stood quietly at the back, remembering the man with the thin coat and the steady eyes. She wished he could have seen it. But maybe in some way he had. Because some secrets aren't meant to stay buried forever. And some soldiers, no matter how long it takes, finally come home. Thank you for watching. If this story moved you, please like and subscribe for more.